hope that you all are fine, sitting at home and doing your work properly. By work I mean your homework as well as your studies. Now coming back to the topic that we have left behind was evolution, human evolution as well as Darwin. We finished with evidences of evolution, and now we are going to start with the new topic of Darwin. Now, who was Darwin? Darwin was English biologist who had made plenty of researches regarding how actually the new species or how actually evolution have occurred. So he had made plenty of research. He went on a voyage by a ship to an island known as Galapagos. On this Galapagos island, he observed plenty of species of plants as well as animals. And he noted down all his observations, how the organisms were behaving or how the plants were or species of plants were changing themselves. All these observations he noted down, and then he wrote a book and named it as Origin of Species. So in this book Origin of Species, he have explained actually how a new species evolved from pre-existing species. That's what we all are studying right now, evolution. So how evolution occurred, he put forth a theory, and he named that theory as theory of natural selection or theory of survival of the fittest. Now what do you understand by natural selection? Natural selection means the nature selects which organism will survive and which organism will have to perish. Now, how does the nature decide which organism has to survive and which organism has to perish? So for that, nature continuously takes our test, or nature is continuously testing us. Now, those organisms which are able to cope up with the changing environment, only they will survive. And those which are not able to cope up with the nature's changing environmental conditions or different tests put by the nature, those which are able to survive will continue to live, and those which are not fit will have to perish. So that's what he called as natural selection or survival of fittest. Now organisms also behave or act in such a way that they can survive or their race can continue on the earth. For that, every organism always tries to reproduce prolifically. Prolifically means in larger quantities. Now if you have seen any plant, it produces large number of seeds. Out of those seeds, only few can survive. Same way in rainy season, if you had seen on the streets, especially in the villages, you will see many tiny froglets during the rainy season coming out of the puddle. So there are hundreds and hundreds of froglets or tiny frogs. But out of those, hardly few reach to the stage of adulthood and reproduce again. So in order to make sure that the generations of frog continue, they reproduce prolifically or they produce many young ones, so that out of those many, at least few will survive and continue their generation. So that is how the organism try to survive. So this is what was told by Darwin in his book Origin of Species. Now this theory was widely accepted. Many of the facts that he have put forth in the book were true and they still hold true. Though it was true, there were very few objections taken, but apart from those objections, the theory is on a greater extent a success. Now I'll just tell you and we'll just discuss about what were the limitations of the theory. The first limitation was natural selection is not the only factor which is responsible for the evolution. That means it is not just nature which is responsible for evolving. There are many factors like mutation which also plays important role in evolution or formation of new species. Second was, Darwin did not mention any explanation about useful and useless modification. He just said that modifications are necessary or modifications bring about formation of new species. But modifications again are of many types. Some are useful and some are useless. So explanation about useful and useless modification was not done in this theory of natural selection. And the third was, There is no explanation about slow and abrupt changes, which brings us back again to the mutation. Mutation are abrupt changes, and evolution actually occurs very slowly. So difference between these two was not explained in the theory given by Darwin. So apart from these three things, this theory was a great success. Next came Lamarck, or Jean-Baptiste Lamarck. Now he put forth a principle. It was known as principle of use and disuse of organs. Now, according to him, any organ of our body develops or becomes vestigial based on whether we are using it or we are not using at all. That is why we have a very good proverb. If you are not utilizing your brain will rust. So what does it prove again? Theory of or principle of use and disuse of organ. If we are using our organs or if we are using our body properly, it develops. Some parts of the body, if they are not used, they become vestigial. We have seen that the tail become vestigial and it was removed from the body. Same way appendix become vestigial and now it is non-functional in our body. So these things have also happened with wings of ostrich. Now ostrich, due to its heavy weight, cannot fly and the wings become useless. Same thing had happened with the limbs of the snake. Snake in its embryonic condition shows limbs, but as it develops, the limbs get vanished because they are of no use. These animals are reptiles. They crawl on the ground and legs or arms or limbs are of no use to them. So he stated that the giraffe's neck has also become long due to this use and disuse principle, where he states that there was a stage on earth when there were plenty of grazing animals or plenty of herbivores on the earth. As a result, the green grass or trees started disappearing due to plenty of competition. Plenty of animals used to eat the green grass, and hence animals need to raise their neck so that they can reach to the upper parts of the tree. So this continued for several generations in giraffe. Those giraffes which were able to stretch their neck to eat the food, to eat the grass or to eat the trees, green material, they all were able to survive and they all were able to transfer that character from one generation to next generation and further again improve it. This is how slowly, gradually the neck of giraffe has increased. Now this theory up to certain limit was accepted, but later on there were plenty of objections taken, and it was said that the characteristics which we have acquired, that he called as theory of acquired characteristics. This acquired characters not necessarily will be transferred from one generation to next generation. Now for example, Kapil Dev or Sachin Tendulkar are exceptionally good cricketers, but is it possible that their children will also be as good as them? No, the answer is obviously not. So this theory of acquired character was later on disqualified, or it was not accepted. So these were two theories. So the next concept is of speciation. Now what do you understand by speciation? Speciation means formation of new species from pre-existing species, and this occurs due to evolution. From one organism, new organism or new species is formed. So definition of species is group of organisms. Species is nothing but a group of organisms which can naturally reproduce and form the fertile young ones or fertile offsprings. So these species are formed as a result of evolution, and this occurs by two methods which are known as geographical isolation and reproductive isolation. Isolation means separation. Now geographical isolation means many times animals or plants get migrated from one part to another. Now due to migration they are subjected to a completely different geographical conditions, and this brings about the changes which are different from the original species which was actually present somewhere else. Now due to migration to some new geographical area, they show certain changes which are suitable to that particular geographical area, which gives rise to changes in them which are different from where they have migrated. So this is called a geographical isolation, which brings about changes, modification or formation of new species. Now next concept is of reproductive isolation. Due to mutation, particular animal or a particular plant may change their reproductive pattern or reproductive organs, which makes them incapable of reproducing with the pre-existing species. So due to these changes in the reproductive organs, they are not able to mate or they are not able to reproduce with the previous species, and from them again a new species can be developed. So this is called as reproductive isolation. So both these things along with mutation may lead to formation of new species. Now after these two theories, we'll start with human evolution. Now human evolution started approximately 7 crore years ago. Now you might think, why 7 crore years ago? So that was the time when dinosaurs become extinct. Again, nature had took a test. There was plenty of asteroid falls during 7 crore years ago, and plenty of dinosaurs become extinct. After dinosaurs become extinct, the predator, the supreme predator, was gone from the earth, and then human evolution started from a very small animal known as lemur. Lemur is an animal which is generally found on trees and walking on 4 legs, has a tail, and very tiny animal. So from this lemur-like animal, evolution started 7 crore years ago. Then after 7 crore, as the evolution began, approximately 4 crore year ago, the tail of the animal disappeared and it started becoming more and more monkey or ape-like. So 4 crore year ago, this animal was evolved. So after the disappearance of the tail, again evolution continued and enlargement of brain of this animal occurred. Forelimbs were now used for plenty of different works. Their hands also evolved so that they can hold or grab something. Now from this, the ape-like animals were evolved, they were formed, and they were found in Africa. Now out of this, few of the animals or few of these ape-like animals migrated to south and north of Asia, where they evolved to form gibbons and orangutan. While those which still continue to live in Africa, they developed into gorillas and chimpanzees 2.5 crore years ago. Then 2.5 crore ago, the same ape-like animals, they continued their development in another direction where they become more human-like. Okay. Now they use their hands for many different types of work, like capturing the food, capturing their prey, holding and using it for eating, and many other works. These hands were being used. They started living more on land after 2 crore years ago, because after that the vegetation or the trees started reducing on the earth, because of which they have to come down to the land, and because of that they again started to walk on 2 legs. For that their lumbar bone changed. They were able to walk on 2 legs, their posture become erect. Then first record of human-like animal is Ramapithecus, which was found in East Africa. It has evolved 40 lakh years ago. Then from this again 20 lakh years ago, they appear to be more as a member of genus Homo. Now genus and species we have studied in previous classes. During classification, we classify the animal as kingdom, family, genus and species. So this animal which were found some 20 lakh years ago, they were kept in genus Homo. 15 lakh years ago, more evolved human was formed, and these more evolved animals, the fossils were found in Indonesia. 1 lakh years ago, again they discovered fire. This was a major discovery. After discovery of fire, humans started cooking the food. Due to eating of cooking food, plenty of changes occurred in their body or in their morphology. After this, the evolution again continued further. Some 50,000 years ago, evolution continued and man was evolved, and he was now considered as a member of wise man or also known as Homo sapiens. Now, first example of this Homo sapiens is considered to be a Neanderthal man. So this Neanderthal man is a species or a fossil was found which had plenty of evolved characters in it. After that, Cro-Magnon man was formed 50,000 years. Now, after Cro-Magnon man was formed, the evolution occurred very fast, very rapidly, as well as development of brain also was faster after Cro-Magnon man. Many major discoveries, many historical construction that we see today were done by Cro-Magnon man. After that, 10,000 years ago, most commonly known as 10,000 years before Christ, humans started practicing agriculture. Lands were cultivated, civilizations were developed 10,000 years ago. Approximately 5,000 years ago, writing skill was developed, or they started writing. Even Warli painting is a form of writing or expressing their feelings on the wall. So this approximately happened 5,000 years ago. Then 400 years ago, modern sciences were evolved. Modern sciences, history, art, science, economics, trade, these all things were discovered 400 years ago as a result of improvised or increase in the size of brain. 200 years ago, industrial revolution occurred, or industrialization have started, and man started using the machines along with his brain. So this was all about the entire chapter. I hope you have understood. If you have doubt, please post it on the WhatsApp. Thank you.